The last thing you ever feel will not be what you think. Not pain, not terror, not darkness slamming shut, something else entirely, and your brain saves it for the very end. Stay with me, because to understand it, we have to go to the one place no one comes back from. Your heart has just stopped. The room is still. The machines have gone quiet. To everyone standing around you, it's over. The line is flat. The time of death gets written down. But here's what nobody tells you. You are not gone yet. Because death is not a switch. It's not a door that slams shut the instant your heart stops. It's a process. A slow, strange unwinding. And in those first moments after the world has declared you dead, something is still happening inside your skull. For a few minutes after your heart stops, the most complex object in the known universe is still there, still holding the shape of you. And it does not go quietly. So what actually happens in the moments right after you die? The answer is one of the most haunting things modern science has ever recorded, and it will change what you think dying really is. Let's start with the heart. When your heart stops, blood stops moving, and blood carries oxygen. Your brain is only about 2% of your body weight, but it's a monster of hunger, burning roughly 20% of all your energy. It has almost no reserves of its own. So when the oxygen stops arriving, a clock starts. And it is a fast clock. Within about 10 seconds, the lights begin to go out. Your cortex, the part that handles awareness, thought, the feeling of being you, starts to fall silent. On a brain monitor, the busy electrical chatter begins to flatten. To anyone watching the screen, this is the end. The mind. Switching off. But the brain has one more move, and no one saw it coming. In the seconds after the blood stops, researchers recorded something that should not have been there. Not silence, not a gentle fade. A surge. In 2013, a team at the University of Michigan, led by Dr. Jimo Borjigan, was studying rats at the moment of death. They expected the brain to simply wind down. Instead, in the 30 seconds after the heart stopped, the dying brain erupted. A wave of high-frequency activity. The same kind linked to intense, focused, conscious thought. Listen that again. At the exact moment the body was dying, the brain didn't go dark. It lit up. More organized, more connected. In some ways more awake than in ordinary waking life, at the moment of death. And it wasn't just rats. In 2022, doctors were recording the brain of an 87-year-old man being treated for a head injury. While they recorded, completely by chance, he had a heart attack and died. For the first time in history, they had captured a human brain in the act of dying. They saw the same thing. In the seconds before and after his heart stopped, his brain produced a very specific kind of wave. Gamma. The exact pattern your brain makes when you are dreaming, when you are deep in memory, when you are reliving something vivid from your past. His brain, in the moment of death, was doing the precise thing it does when you remember, which raises a question that's impossible to shake. Is this what people mean when they say their life flashed before their eyes? For centuries, we called that a myth, a line in movies. But the people who survived the edge, cardiac arrest, drowning, accidents, keep reporting the same things. Across every culture, every age, every belief. Overwhelming peace. Not terror. Floating. Looking down. A tunnel. A light. And again, that vivid replay. Memories, faces, whole stretches of a life returning all at once. We used to think this was just a noise. A broken oxygen-starved brain glitching as it crashed. But the surge breaks that explanation. Because if the dying brain isn't crashing, if it's firing in the exact patterns of memory and awareness, then maybe those experiences aren't random at all. Maybe they are the last real thing the brain ever does, not the chaos of a machine breaking down, something that looks almost like a mind reviewing itself. One final time. Now, here is where you need me to be honest with you, because this is exactly where it gets twisted. It's tempting to hear this and decide, there it is. Proof of the soul. Proof of an afterlife. Proof that you go on. But that is not what the science says, and the truth is stranger than the fairy tale. The surge is not your spirit leaving your body. As far as we can tell, it's biology. It may simply be what happens when the brakes, the systems that keep your brain controlled and balanced, all fail at once. With nothing holding it back, the brain fires like it never could in life. A final, uncontrolled blaze of everything at once. And that gives us the strangest truth of all. The most intense, vivid, dreamlike experience your brain may ever produce could be happening at the exact moment that brain is dying forever. The grand finale and the final ending. The same event. The best thing your mind ever does and the last thing it ever does at once. And it gets more haunting, because this surge happens after your heart has stopped, after the moment a doctor would call your time of death, which means that flat line, that recorded time, may not be the real border at all. For a few minutes, in the dark and the silence, with everyone in the room certain you are gone, The experience of being you might still be unfolding, privately, somewhere no one else can ever follow. So let's walk through it, step by step. What actually happens in the minutes after you die? The heart stops. Blood stops. Within about 10 seconds, your grip on the outside world fades. But underneath, in those same seconds, the surge begins. A flood of memory, of vivid recall, of deep conscious processing, pouring through a brain that, from the outside, looks dead. Then, minute by minute, the cells themselves begin to change. And here is the part that should unsettle you specifically, because it blurs the line of where you end. Brain cells don't die instantly. They begin a slow, controlled shutdown, and it's far slower than we believed. In 2019 at Yale, researchers took brains that had been dead for 4 hours and pumped them with a special fluid. Some cellular activity returned. Not awareness, but living, working cells in an organ everyone would have called dead, hours after death. Sit with what that means about you. The you inside your head doesn't have a clean instant off switch. Death at the level of your brain isn't a snap. It's a long, slow gradient, a fading. And the exact point where you truly end is far blurrier than anyone wanted to believe. So pull it all together. What does this actually mean for you? The moment your heart stops is not the moment you vanish. The you that thinks, that remembers, that feels, that may persist for minutes longer, locked inside, possibly experiencing something more intense than any moment of your waking life. We spend our whole lives terrified of death as a sudden nothingness, a light switched off, but the science is sketching something else. Not a switch, a slow descent, and right at the threshold, one last surge of being alive turned all the way up. And buried in that, there is a strange comfort. For all of human history, people feared the final moment would be pain, panic, terror. But the people who have been to the edge and come back almost never describe horror. They describe peace. They describe being flooded with the people and the moments they loved most. Remember what I told you at the start, that the last thing you feel won't be what you think? This is it. If the dying brain really does play back a life in its final act, then the last thing a human being ever experiences may not be fear. It may be everything that ever mattered to you. All at once, a first love, a child's face, a summer afternoon you'd long forgotten, returning one final time. We may never fully know. It's the one experience no one can return from to describe completely. But here's what the science quietly suggests, that the most complex thing in the known universe does not abandon you the instant your heart gives out. It stays, it works. It may spend its final moments not in darkness, but in a flood of memory and meaning. You spend your entire life inside this 3-pound universe behind your eyes. It builds every moment you have ever had. And it seems it may be there for the very last one too, holding you, remembering you, right to the end. The moment after you die, you may not be alone in the dark. You may be with everything you have ever loved, human.